I'm so excited to hear from our main speaker today, Jeff Moore. I got the privilege of taking one of his workshops at the last Gay Coaches Conference that I was at, and it was called Book Yourself Solid. And I still have the workbook that we used, and I still refer to it because it was that valuable. That hour and a half, or however long it was so valuable that years later, I'm still referring back to it. And so I'm super grateful to be connected to Jeff. He specializes in strategy, sales, marketing, and best practices. His work is all about determining the impact which his clients want to create and making sure that happens. And to do that, he's studied business, sales, marketing, metric systems, recruiting, market research. He's worked with a wide variety of CEOs and executive teams to break through limits, to maximize business potential and personal happiness. And today, the one, the only Tom Keidel is going to be interviewing him, talking about the pre-conference work, among many other valuable things. So Tom and Jeff, I'll let you take it away.
Great. Thank you, Will, for that introduction. I really appreciate it very much. I would like to reiterate some of what you said, which is Jeff Moore has made such a substantial contribution to the GCA in the number of workshops that he has presented. I did take the Book Yourself Solid one a couple of years back. I also took the Testimonials one, and I think there were ones earlier that I don't remember right at this moment. But I do want to reiterate that Jeff Moore has been very much a contributor to the GCA for a number of years. I would like to, if I could, ask Harry Faddis if there were any recollections that he has about Jeff Moore's contribution to the GCA. Harry, could you speak to that?
Yes, it's one word with a big E, enthusiasm. He would never have to market himself as a coach. All he has to do is show up and you think, I want that guy. I want him to do whatever it is that I need doing. And it's the inside that's coming out. It's not put on. So I don't want to embarrass you. I'm talking about the wrong Jeff. Am I supposed to be talking about Jeff Nally or Jeff Moore?
Jeff Moore.
I was talking about Jeff Nally. So Jeff Moore, no. Jeff Moore, the first thing that impresses me about him is when you get a foot away from him, there's something about him that says, you can trust me. And it's kind of comes at you with a little bit of a smile. And I just felt the first time I saw him that I like this guy and I can trust him and I want to know who he is. And his presentations at the conferences have been well attended and well received. And he is really a natural presenter. He's kind of like the way he goes about things is a little bit like Thomas Leonard. There's something about, he has a little wink going on. I don't know what that is, but we can talk about that the next time we meet. I'm sorry I got these Jeffs confused. Put it down to my senior years.
Thank you, Harry. I just want to reiterate that Jeff Moore has been a substantial contributor in many, many ways. And I think he's highly enthusiastic. And I'm very interested in his pre-conference workshop that he's going to be offering this year at the conference. So today's discussion is about the pre-conference workshop. And I guess my first question to Jeff would be, what inspired you to pick this topic for the workshop? Or start with any opening comments that you might like, Jeff.
Yeah, I'll go with that question. And we got a little sample of it in what's already happened on this call. There's so many amazing people involved in this community. And I'd like to see them all reach their maximum potential. So that's what this is really about. Not only knowing yourself, but having others know you and then have that maximum impact you could have in the world.
Could I please ask people to mute their phones so that we can have a cleaner audio sound? That would be great. Anything more, Jeff, on that question?
On why I did this? Yeah, well, it was an opportunity to kind of share this kind of knowledge and wisdom with the group, and I look forward to that. It's kind of what I do all the time, all day, every day. Connect with various business owners and executives and help them understand where they can go and get there.
Great, that's marvelous. So it's that inner sense of inspiration and connecting with the greatness that we have within.
Yes.
Can I ask, what is the one critical takeaway that you want attendees to get?
Yes, I'd like people to understand what they have to offer and how to connect with people who need their help.
Great. Can you say more about how do I connect with people who need their particular help?
Okay, so it starts obviously from knowing yourself and your talents and so on, but it also comes with putting that into words that other people can really quickly understand and are likely to repeat to others. So it's kind of knowing yourself, but it's also learning how to speak about what you do in a very simple way that is memorable, powerful, connecting, and repeatable.
Very important. Connectable and repeatable. I think those are those takeaways that I would take as being important. Can you tell us a little bit why this workshop is important to you as a presenter? Why does this offer you an opportunity?
It's like breathing to me. It's what I do. It's the kind of stuff I do all the time. I get energized from it. You would almost be harder for me not to do it than to do it.
That's an interesting thought. It would be harder for you not to do it than to do it. Can you say more about that?
Yeah. So I talk to people all the time, and a lot of times they don't know their own power, their own strength, their own potential. And I'm not comfortable with that. I want people to know their power and to take it and to move into it. So when they don't, that's the thing that tires me out, or things aren't smooth for me.
I do get the idea of connecting to the power internally so that you're springboarding from a strong place of action and compelling power.
Yeah,
so,
and I will also say that when you have a challenge or a big thing to overcome, that's often a lot of source of power for you and a value creation in the world. So even in this kind of negative energy state, there is power there too. And coming from that place and crossing over it is very powerful and very valuable. And indeed, a lot of the reasons that businesses and people succeed is they figure out how to solve things and overcome things that other people would give up on.
Not giving up, being able to find the way around to still make the bridge to where you are, to where you want to be.
Yeah. And it's not strictly, I mean, maybe we'll cover this, but it's not strictly what this is about. But when you have a challenge and when you're struggling with something, the most powerful thing you can do is evoke gratitude. Because when you do that, you turn your mind on. And when you evoke fear and negative things, you turn your mind off. But besides that, the gratitude is deserved because, again, this challenge you're overcoming is a source of value for you.
Huge payoff in gratitude. That's a huge spark of energy for, at least something for me, it does.
Yeah, and so there's a lot to that.
Right. I think developing that will be an interesting place to actually harness power for everyone in the conference. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me who is the ideal attendee that you want to see show up at the pre-conference?
Yeah, I'm going to list 3 things, and if any of them apply, it would be great for you to come. You'll get a lot out of it. Number 1, you want to maximize your own impact in the world. Mm-hmm. Number 2, you want to understand yourself and your unique talents. Or number 3, you want commercial success. Those are
great.
You're going to get all of them, but if one of them is enough to make the workshop worthwhile for you.
Can you give me a little bit of a hint as to how these 3 important characteristics tie together I mean, obviously, maximize your impact, be strong in who you are, ties into the other two, but say more about that if you can.
Yeah, so if you start with the middle one, understand your unique talents. Okay, so there are certain things that you do so well that you don't think you're good at them, right? Because they're so easy, and you may devalue them even because it takes you no effort. But I'm sure you know other people to whom their no effort thing blows your mind. You can't believe it, and you could never do it in a million years. So I heard a saying recently, and it's kind of a interesting thing. You can't read the label from inside the bottle.
Huh.
So you really don't know how you're appearing and how powerful you are on the inside. You feel, anything that's easy to you, you kind of subconsciously think it's easy for everyone. So you kind of devalue the things that are easy for you. So once you get to own your uniqueness and your power, then that's a direct route to, okay, knowing that, how do I translate that into the world and maximize my impact? Well, by kind of exercising what's special about me that I might not even appreciate coming in that's special about me. And then, of course, that also leads to commercial success, along with some other ingredients like the stuff we talked about earlier about how you boil this down to simple words that other people can easily understand and repeat.
I have to say, I love the phrase, you can't read the label from inside the bottle. That really resonates for me because I often think I'm not positive exactly what my primary skill is and what my reason for being is. And I'm trying to read the stupid label, but the label's not coming through very clearly for me. So
Yeah.
I really resonate with that idea. I can totally understand it because I feel like I've retreaded that idea in my own career as well. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And the gratitude tie-in, of course, I think is really important too. It's an excellent springboard for energy. So
yeah.
Can you give us a little bit of an indication about how interactive will this workshop be?
Well, yeah, and it ties directly to what we're just talking about, because one way we're going to get around not being able to read the label from the inside of the bottle is have the other participants read your label. So we're going to effectively be it. So you'll have some learning, but you'll have immediate practice, and again, you'll be helping each other advance in this practice.
Great, that's amazing. That's a lot of helping one another to read the label and to be able to articulate what the basic set of skills is, where the greatness really lies. I think that sounds like a great, wonderful proposition for value for anyone attending the conference and the workshop. That's great.
Yeah, and it also is, you'll develop some skills which are transferable beyond the workshop in just understanding how people think and how to relate them and how to unlock their potential.
Right.
And just
transferring
as a coach, being able to unlock your client's potential, that's something very powerful.
Great, that's marvelous. Can you tell me a little bit more about what will any one person get as a primary takeaway from the entirety? I know you've talked a little bit about it, that they'll know more about how to read the label from inside the bottle. What other takeaways will we get as a result of this workshop?
Yeah, so I'm going to go for simple words in this because it's a complicated concept, but you'll have clarity, you'll have confidence, and you'll have a step-by-step action plan for what to do next.
Good to know. All right, that's marvelous. Can you tell us what is going to shock and surprise me if I go to this conference once I come? What's this pre-conference going to shock and surprise me about?
It may be less shocking to people that have been around a lot, but how amazing the people in this organization and coming to this conference are. Like how totally mind-blowing they are, and yourself among them. Like your own potential as well, but you'll be it's shockingly how much people have inside them and how much capability and power can be exposed.
Great, capability and power, like that. Can we switch topics a little bit and now talk a little bit about you as a presenter? Can you tell
Yes.
us a little bit about what qualifies you to facilitate this particular workshop?
Yeah, so I'm involved in a lot of coaching organizations and trainings and often they do those like pre-warm-up exercises where they say, how long have you been doing coaching? And I actually said when I was asked that, from birth.
Great.
So I do have a coaching mindset. I've got clients who've completely transformed themselves, resulting in going from completely never happy in their lives to happiness and to have astounding success. If you're on the business front and quantifying that, I've certainly had multiple clients go from $0 to $100 million in their businesses, or multiple hundreds of millions of dollars. I am a puzzle solver. I've solved hundreds of thousands of puzzles throughout my life. And this idea of unlocking the potential of others, and people and businesses both, is kind of my favorite puzzle. So it's another version of that, this workshop.
I love the idea that it's a puzzle, that you're trying to both unlock your own personal puzzle of what your greatness is and how you offer it, but that you're also trying to understand the puzzle of the client. You've got two puzzles going on at the same time, and what's the fit? I really like that as a metaphor. That's a really important idea. So,
right.
Can you tell us a little bit about your areas of expertise? I know we had some of it in the introduction, but
Sure.
Tell us in your own words.
So my practice right now is in business strategy and CEO coaching. So that involves helping businesses learn to scale and grow and applying best practices instead of reinventing everything. And for CEO coaching, it's kind of rewiring the brain to be very effective at business. Prior to that, I had a business, finance, and software background. So I ran a software company for 25 years. I worked for IBM for 10 years before that. And my software company in particular specialized in financial software, which it was an interesting situation because my clients would have thousands of IT people that their general attitude is, if there's software to be made, we should make it. No outsider should get involved in this. And but I was nonetheless able to sell them millions of dollars worth of software on the basis that of all their tens of thousands of employees, they didn't have one who understood the business and software at the same time.
Shocking.
Yeah, it's anyway. So, and then of course, my sales technique was almost like I was coaching my buyers in their careers, and they would incidentally buy software from me.
That's kind of nice. I mean, you get the entree in both for the product and you get the entree in with the service as well. That's kind of a nice combination.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you for overviewing your background and telling us more about that. What do you really want attendees to know about you before coming to this particular pre-conference workshop?
Okay. So maybe Harry saw this a little bit when he talked about me earlier, but I'm both very demanding and very nice. So, meaning I care about you reaching your potential, so I can be unbelievably patient and persistent if that's what you need. But, you know, don't tell me what you want to create in your life and think I'm not going to expect that of you after that, and kind of be pushing in that direction.
Okay, great. You're demanding and nice. So I don't know whether to be shaking my boots or whether or not I'm going to go, he'll give me a free pass.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to let you run away from your dreams, for example. So is that?
That's a good one. No, I like
Right.
that. No running away from dreams at this workshop.
Right.
I like that. Okay, that's great. Can you tell us whether you have personally benefited from this material that you are presenting? Can you say a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. So first of all, I have the confidence to start new things, to kind of leave IBM, start a business, leave that business, start a new business. move on to the different, take new directions and go into new uncharted territories, because I know I have the internal resources and the dynamic ability to move into a situation and learn it quickly. And of course, one of the greatest things is, as you mature in the world, you've had all these successes and all these helped all these people. You have this big network of people that like you and want to help you and connect you with other people. So that's it's really hard to measure the extent of that benefit.
I think right now I'm fascinated by this idea of dynamic quality, that part of what we all bring is a kind of learning curve dynamism, and harnessing that sounds like what this conference workshop is getting at. How can I harness the dynamic of my own greatness so that I can be led by it rather than try and thwart it or change it or make it harder, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can feel like allowing something to happen versus pushing to make something happen.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. I think that's a great takeaway for anyone who wants to come to the pre-conference.
Yeah.
Now, I'm also going to move into this other topic, which is you've got a workshop that's going to be running during the regular conference. And this workshop actually ties in a little bit to what you're covering in the pre-conference. So it seemed like it'd be a good idea to talk a little bit about that conference workshop as well. Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit, does your conference workshop have anything to do with your pre-conference workshop?
I would say they're very different content, and they're based on the same underlying philosophy. So you can take one or both and get something independent from each of them. But if you do take them both, you might see some cross connections, and it might make your experience even more powerful.
Just so people know, the title of Jeff Moore's regular workshop is What are the 5 Challenges of Coaching?
Yes.
So I want to actually address this idea of the 5 challenges. Can you say a bit more about each one of those 5 challenges?
Yeah, so let me just list them to start with, and then maybe we'll go deeper, or maybe, I don't know what time we have for this, but the 5 challenges are: number 1, I bet you guys can guess number 1 even. How do I get clients? Right? Number 2, how do I deliver incredible coaching value every time? Number 3, how do I keep the clients? Number 4, how do I generate referrals? And number 5, how much should I be charging?
Gives you a nice edge on pragmatic issues.
Yes, that's right. And we're not going to do the workshop right now, but in the content, you'll figure out your answers to all 5 questions, essentially.
Great. Thank you for that. I guess one more last question about the conference workshop. Do you like anything? You like everything that's kind of strategic. So yes. How will this workshop help us to think more strategically about our work as coaches?
So part of this is making things that are invisible or unnoticed visible, and understanding what in the environment is important, what isn't. I'm going to say strategy is who you choose to serve, what you do for them, how you reach them, how you create success in your ultimate destination in all this. So that's what we're going to, strategically, we're helping you with every one of those points: who you're serving, what you're doing for them, how you're reaching them, how you create success for them, and then what the result of all this is for you.
Great, that's wonderful. What the result is for you, and how do you appreciate that?
Yeah, and when I say for you, the result you're creating, it could be a result that is a better world result, it could be a result that's a financial result, but it's your result that you've dedicated yourself to create.
Okay. Is there anything about the pre-conference workshop that is uniquely about the GCA, something that makes this workshop that you would feel really requires the GCA's abilities, the people from the GCA?
So the main conference presentation I'm giving is helpful and useful and applicable to any coach of any kind. They don't have to be in the GCA. They don't have to be gay. Maybe you'll have some extra insights from that, but it will work for you regardless. And the pre-conference is even more general. You don't have to be a coach even. You know, everybody has potential and not everybody needs to be a coach or is ideally suited for a coach. So absolutely anybody can benefit from the pre-conference, whether you have any coaching intentions or not. And the unique combination of people that will come to this are generally gay, and they have this kind of superpower of helping others and seeing through different lenses and all that. So they will have an easier time both absorbing this material and helping others advance.
Great.
So that, in that sense, the GCA is a special environment to do this conference.
I think there definitely is a gay superpower that we don't want to overlook and we don't want to minimize either. So I think that's an important element of the pre-conference workshop as well as the main conference set of workshops. So that's great. Is there anything else you would like to add before I open this up to questions from the audience, either about your pre-conference workshop or about the main conference workshop that you will be offering?
I'm happy to just take questions. There's so much I could say about both these things. I don't know where to start.
Okay.
Right?
Well, with that in mind, let's turn it over to the members of this call. And if anyone has any questions, please unmute yourself and let's hear your questions.
This is Jeff, the other Jeff.
The enthusiastic Jeff.
Yeah. So I just a couple of observations and comments. So I'm volunteering with Tom on the conference committee. So when I heard that Jeff Moore was going to be the pre-conference workshop presenter, I signed up right away. I didn't even wait to hear what the topic was. So I've been in Jeff's sessions before, and they are great. I also want to say yes. When you come to these events where he speaks and he teaches and you learn, this is not like a sit back and be quiet and watch, be entertained by somebody on a stage. He does make you think. He will pull us out of our thinking and he will hold us accountable for moving through these. And you feel like, and you have accomplished a lot when you finish a workshop with Jeff. So I'm thrilled to hear more about the topics and the 3 elements that you're going to cover. So I can't wait.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Other questions or comments?
Hi, this is Harry, and I would very much like to ask Jeff, since he brought it up, that many gay men have said that they had the experience of being a coach from youth, and you said from birth. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about how did it show up in different eras of your life? For example, when you were a preteen or a teenager, and when you were a young adult, and did it have what influence, if any, did it have on your coming out?
So one incident that comes to mind about this is I went to a church event that was youth and adults together, and they did an exercise which is like a mission to Mars or something, where you were deciding what to take and how to organize yourself and so on. And I was in a group with some maybe older kids and definitely some adults, and I got the entire group to adopt my list as is. So that's an example of kind of my early influencing and coaching. Not that my ideas were perfectly right, but I was able to persuade all these other people in my group to go with me because I had reasons and et cetera. So even though I didn't know all the proper scientific stuff, I had a lot of influence and ability to connect with people and et cetera. So that's a kind of early onset of coaching. And then what was the second question?
What, if any, influence did it have on your coming out? And how did it show up after you came out?
Well, I think part of the influence is I had my own journey and my own internal learning and all that. And I had a little bit of a different experience than a lot of people have, in that A, I got married to a woman, and B, more or less immediately I told her I'm gay, and we stayed married. So that was a different kind of a experience, and that lasted for a long time until, and so that was a bit of a coming out, but that was a very private, didn't go very far. And then I got to the point where I wanted to have a more of an open social life and all that many years later, decades later. And then it was a new coming out that was more coming out to everyone. And I got the same problem we talked about before. Can you read the label from inside the bottle? I remember the experience, but I have a hard time connecting it and seeing what it looked like from the outside. I do think that I had in some sense, an unusually easy path, because by the time I was doing that, I had financial needs taken care of, and I had a business. I had 20 some employees, and whatever they thought about what's going on with me, and whatever their political or religious opinions, I'm the guy who signed their paychecks. So they didn't really give me the slightest bit of trouble.
I can understand that. So
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that. And Harry, is there any other add-on question that you'd like to add, or is that?
No, I'll wait until later. Thank you.
Okay, great. Are there other questions?
Sure. One of the things that I have been working with a lot of my clients on is self-confidence and really tapping into their inner self-confidence. And it strikes me, that this work supports that, right? Is getting really present to what makes you great in the world. And so I was curious if you have a particular question or a particular strategy that supports folks in really claiming and feeling into their greatness.
Well, there's not a magic key to this, but yeah. I will provide lots of persistence, and if I have to open up 20 doors, 30 doors, 60 doors, I will open up those doors till we find the right door for the individual person.
Mm. Great. So I'm hearing there's a lot of possible strategies, and the key is being persistent about finding the right one.
Yes. Yeah. Persistence is important. Think of it like a very difficult puzzle, right?
Cool.
And part of the key to this is flexibility and developing a perspective and not getting stuck on the first path you go on and just say, I have to push harder against this door that's never going to open. Well, there's other doors. Go open another door.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Are there other questions from the members of the phone call? Okay.
This is Harry. I'd like to ask you, I've been thinking about it since you said it, and what a relief it is to hear that if I'm a client, if what I think of as a problem, already I have set up many, many, many difficulties. And the way you have framed it is, I am a puzzle, or this is a puzzle, removes shame from it and allows us to be curious. How did you come up with that concept?
It's so innate to me, I probably can't answer, but I can tell you that I've been solving puzzles, like especially physical puzzles, where you have to figure out how to take something apart or put it back together, for as long as I can remember. And there's I give a speech about this, and there's a story I tell. When I was about 10 years old, my grandmother brought me this puzzle, and it's a little cube, and you can rattle it, but it won't move in any direction. The idea is to open it up. And it took me about 30 seconds to solve this puzzle. And in the 50 years since that time, I've shared it with lots of people, and no one has ever solved it in any amount of time. So, and I had a little edge because it was very similar to another puzzle that I'd recently solved, and I connected it and so on. But I've always kind of loved this kind of intellectual and physical challenge of figuring something out. And, you know, I've had lots of puzzles that take me days to solve or longer. And it's all about the curiosity, the exploration, the patience, and the holding your knowledge loosely and not getting so committed to the way you think things are that enables the power to get. And indeed, even that one I solved so fast, it was because I was able to imagine the possibilities inside the box that you couldn't see.
Other than that grandparent, was it your grandmother or grandfather?
It was my grandmother, my father's mother.
Did you have other influences that encouraged you to develop
my
this?
father. So my father was a junior high school math teacher, and I remember him teaching me binary numbers when I was like 3 or 4, or
Wow.
4 or 5. And I remember when I was like maybe a 4th grader, I was grading his 7th grade students' papers just by knowing the answers, not by following the answer key. So my father and his mother were both big influences in this kind of mental development. My grandmother also was a big crossword puzzle person, and she taught me crossword puzzles really early on too. And crossword puzzles are very good mental training, because to solve any problem, it takes 3 different kinds of thinking. It takes logic, knowledge, like, and that would be for crossword puzzles, the definitions of words and so on, the spellings of words. It takes logic, which is the reasoning you get in a crossword puzzle about what letters will fit and the cross letters and so on. And those are things that humans are pretty good at and already know how to get better. But the third thing humans are terrible at in general, and there's not a lot of good training to get better, which is the flexibility, which is holding your ideas lightly and being able to change. And the higher the pressure is, the more it's hard for you to not get locked into one view of the world. And the reason crossword puzzles are good for this is they deliberately give you ambiguous clues to kind of open up paths you get stuck in. So, you know, does this code mean a noun or a verb, for example? And you just read it the first way and you're locked in that until you get more training and more ability to be flexible. So that's something I've become aware of in myself and kind of cultivated, this flexibility of thinking. And the way I think about it is, all of my thoughts aren't the world. They're a model of the world. And because they're a model, they're inaccurate. So every thought I have contains a little shade of doubt, which keeps me from believing my own press and believing my own interpretation of everything, and kind of being super committed to, I'm right and the world is wrong. Right? I'm more like, the world is right, and it's my job to understand why and how the world is right.
It's lovely to hear how this environment affected you in this particular positive way. Do you have brothers and sisters who did not get this?
Yes, I do. So I was the oldest of 4 in the family. The one that was closest to me intellectually and otherwise, unfortunately, died of AIDS many years ago. He was a pediatric anesthesiologist. And then my other 2 brothers are less like this. One of them, he became a nurse, he became a teacher, etc. But he's also very dogmatic, very religious, very anti-gay as a result, and all that. So locked into a certain view of the world. Although he has mellowed quite a bit as he's gotten older as well. And my younger brother is more of the impish, sportsy, makes his way in the world, but mostly on charm rather than on right.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm always interested to hear about the gifts that came from parents and grandparents and how we were either able to receive them or we couldn't.
Yeah. Well, another thing that affected me is I was closer to my grandmother than the rest of my brothers were, because of early on, my mother had a breakdown and we were all farmed out to different places. And I went to my grandmother's house and they went elsewhere. Yeah. So if there's no more questions, I think maybe Alan and Dave also have direct experience with my one-on-one coaching. If they have anything to ask or share about that, Dave Allen or Alan Seaver.
Yeah, Jeff, this is Dave. I'd love to share a little bit about that. But one of the things that I just was reminded of that I've always experienced with you is that in addition to a love of puzzles and a love of play as a way of solving problems, you also hold paradox in a really interesting way. So you talked about the workshop that you're planning, the pre-conference, about helping each of us see from inside the bottle and see who we really are. And part of what you were just talking about with Harry was you always hold a little bit about yourself that you don't believe all the hype. And so having that tension and that balance, I see it shows up in your work in lots of different ways, that there isn't just one answer. It's about always being more curious and about looking at, what's there and what's applicable in this particular moment. One of the other things that I really appreciate about, the times that I've worked with you and you've, supported me and been an advocate for me and what have you, is that you have such a remarkable range of knowledge and curiosity. And I think that was evident in your check-in today when you're talking about learning more about blockchain technology and blockchain theory. There's so many resources that you have to bring to the party that you have the right amount of information and that you understand just enough of the individual that you're talking to. And so I'm really looking forward to the pre-conference. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it will be fun, and maybe drawing a line underneath that. People may be hearing that it's like, well, understanding my own greatness, and that's going to be difficult and uncomfortable. I'm going to have to put myself out there. And what I've always experienced with you is that when you do that type of work, it's easy, it's playful, it's engaging, and you kind of get there and turn around and look backwards and go, oh my gosh, how did we finally get here? So I just have to say, echo a little bit of what the other Jeff said, that, when he saw that you were presenting, he signed up without knowing what you were doing. And that would be, my reaction as well. I'm so delighted we're going to get to spend a whole day with you rather than just an hour and a half here or there during the conference. So thank you for stepping up and doing this. Thank you for supporting me and all the individuals that you support and all that you do for the GCA. So I really appreciate all that you do. Thanks.
Thank you.
I guess if that's probably the last question, I would just like to reinforce the thank you portion and say, Jeff, this has been amazing that you've been able to be helping us with the pre-conference and being on this phone call and explaining everything that you're planning. I'm fascinated by it, and I'm very curious to see the pre-conference itself. And at this point, I think we probably should turn it over to Will Fisher, who will help us do the exit portion of the call.
All right, on to the exit portion of the call. So thank you, Tom, for interviewing, and thank you so much, Jeff. That was really, really insightful and